All right, Greg, we are back, and let's talk a little Portland Trailblazers here. This has been a disappointing team, to say the least, to start the season. So much so that they felt the need to go out and sign the enigma that is Carmelo Anthony. Not only do they sign Melo, they start him. It's off the street into the starting lineup for Carmelo Anthony, and he played about as well as you would imagine Carmelo could, sort of inefficient from the field, but did some other things. Portland 5-10 through 15 games, and really at the bottom of the Western Conference rankings, tied with San Antonio. Would not have guessed that San Antonio and Portland would be tied for the second worst record in the West right now, but here we are, and above only the league worst 3-13 Golden State Warriors, who were just hardcore tanking in Golden State. And by the way, let me talk to you about ticket prices in Golden State, because we've got Alexis Brothers coming out in December, and I was thinking, maybe we'll go to a Warriors game for Christmas. And no, Greg, we won't. There are tickets on StubHub right now, and StubHub not paying us, but it is my website of choice. For the Warriors game, the 3-13 Warriors against bad teams in excess of $12,000, and these aren't even courtside seats.
Ugh. That's disgusting.
Yes.
I mean, they stink. They don't even have anybody playing.
No, it's a G League team. Like, you could honestly go watch the Santa Cruz Warriors and see similar basketball.
I'd prefer, I think, at this point.
And it would be a heck of a lot cheaper. But yes, $12,000, not even courtside tickets.
I mean, that's legitimately upsetting. I don't know.
Well,
I don't even know how to answer that.
Well, I think a 5-10 record through 15 would be legitimately upsetting to the Portland Trailblazers, and this is just, it seems like a team that's kind of reached their cap at this point. You know, I was talking to Anshu on the Underdog, and we did our Western Conference overreaction episode, and I pointed out that I feel like Denver is kind of running parallel to what Portland was doing a couple of years ago, in that they're good enough to be a top 3 or 4 seed, but they're probably not good enough to win the West without adding another player to this roster. And Portland is just in such desperate shape. I think this might be the year they end up trading CJ, because God knows they're never going to trade Damian Lillard. He is a god in the Pacific Northwest. But if they want to compete, you need to go out and get somebody. And good news for them is there are somebodies to get. You know, you have guys like I think Kevin Love is a perfect fit for that Portland team. I think if you're going a different version of that, Danilo Gallinari is incredibly available at Oklahoma City. I think if you want to go more upside in athleticism, a guy like Aaron Gordon could be available in Orlando. But they just can't keep going status quo. I don't see who they're going to jump. I think right now in the West, Phoenix, Minnesota, and the Kings are in the 7, 8, 9 positions. I think that seems about right to me. 2 of those 3 teams are going to end up being the last 2 teams in the Western Conference playoffs. The Spurs are going to sell everybody, you know, and who knows? Maybe that is the way to go. Maybe bringing LaMarcus Aldridge back to Portland is something they could look into as well. But I think you need someone bigger than Aldridge in terms of ability to impact a basketball game. They're not getting into the playoffs unless they make some drastic change and quickly.
Well, I think what's hurt Portland the most is, you know, that Nurkic injury from the end of last year, that disgusting leg injury. Obviously, that was going to carry over into this year, and he was a big part of their success for the majority of last year. I mean, obviously, they walked into the Western Conference Final on the back of Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum, but that changed their offense a lot, and replacing him with, you know, Hassan Whiteside wasn't exactly the best plan of attack. But I also think that it's very early. You said it before. It's overreaction time in the NBA. I have people, friends of mine, not you, and I know we discussed this earlier, that are calling for teams to trade newly acquired players almost immediately.
That is literally me. You know, you and I talked about this earlier.
We did, but it actually came up last night during the Sixers game regarding a certain Al Horford. But it's the same situation in Portland. You're talking about a team that's been together for a decent amount of time. They've sort of hit that apex, and they need to figure out how to get to that next level. I think it's hard to say that it's time to blow things up when you're 15 games into the season. I mean, if we continue to skid over the next 5 to 7 games as we get closer and closer to 2020, yeah, then we can talk about potentially seeing who we can get rid of if, what the return for a guy like McCollum is, what the return for any of their other pieces are. I just don't know if I don't know yet if it's time to move on and say that, we're going to do it this year. I mean, you're talking about teams that are very unproven. The Suns are not used to winning. Can they maintain this? They've already started to come back down to earth. The Timberwolves, they've been much improved, but they're, again, another young-ish team with a bunch of guys who have never really done anything. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns has been excellent. Andrew Wiggins has been much improved.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to live out the nightly comparison of Covington versus Wiggins on the same team every single game.
So you got to let the hatred go. You got to let it go.
I live for this. No. There's no more hatred. I'm over it. I've completely moved on. It's just funny now that they're teammates. Yeah, but I mean, I don't see the necessity just yet to sort of throw everything in the garbage for Portland.
So right now the Trailblazers have to jump 5 teams to get into the playoffs, and I know we're 15 games in, we've got 67 to play, there's plenty of time to do that. I just don't know who they're going to jump. The Kings are playing incredible basketball, just starting with the teams who aren't in the playoffs right now. The Kings are playing incredible basketball without De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley. This team is ready to make a leap this year. Memphis.
But the Kings started the season terribly. Like this
we're
week,
13
we're
13 games into the season. How significant could that a bad start have been?
How significant could the last week have been, which you just called incredible basketball?
Yeah, they're playing great basketball right now. And they're a really fun team to watch, by the way. 6-4 over their last 10. So it's not like they're playing out of their minds. This is just they're playing good basketball. It's working out. Oklahoma City is a team I will concede that can be jumped because Oklahoma City's goal this year is to be as bad as possible. They're going to try to trade Chris Paul. I think that's going to be tougher and tougher with the hot start Miami's had in the East, as he was really the only logical landing place was Miami in that Dragic contract. They're going to trade Gallo. They're going to try to trade Steven Adams. They want to break this team up. They want to be bad. They want to get, your James Wisemans or your Cole Anthonys or your Anthony Edwards on this roster next year, and rightfully so because it's tough to attract stars to Oklahoma City. Memphis has really shown some things this year. Brandon Clark has been a really nice piece as a late first-round pick. Ja Morant, the clear favorite to win Rookie of the Year at this point. And you're seeing Jaren Jackson continue to find his way in the NBA. This is a team that's both playing interesting basketball and certainly has the potential to get better and better and better as these guys continue to acclimate to the NBA. The Pelicans are 5-9 without Zion. That team is only going to get better. I think what was the initial projection was he's going to miss about 30 games, so we're about halfway through that right now. They're just going to get better and better. And then you're at Portland and San Antonio, and that doesn't even count the fact that they would the Spurs would be another team that would potentially have to jump if Pop decides to sort of give up on this year, trade DeRozan, trade Aldridge, and see what's going to happen with Tim Duncan and his head coaching in the future. But I just don't see 5 teams on that list that Portland's going to jump with the roster as constructed right now because Nurkic is not going to be back soon.
No, yeah, I think that it's definitely going to be an uphill battle, and it's always going to be for a team that starts slow. But a lot of these teams end up leveling out. I mean, the problem is where Portland really has the biggest issue is the fact that they're in the much stronger conference. I mean,
yeah,
that conference isn't like a top-heavy conference like the East. It's very difficult to continue to maneuver their way up there. But again, like the Pelicans, they were a disaster for the first 2 weeks of the season. Now they've won like 2 of their last 3 games, and all of a sudden we're talking about them being, back, and we're looking at them making the playoffs when Zion returns.
No,
We don't know what that team looks like when he
I
gets back.
I have not said that by any
I'm
stretch
not
of the
talking
imagination.
about you specifically.
I have not said that. Look, I think 7 teams in the West are locks right now for the playoffs. The Lakers, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Clippers, the Mavericks, the Jazz, and the Timberwolves. Which means that last spot comes down to the Suns, the Kings, the Pelicans, the Blazers, the Spurs. That is tough odds for Portland to climb that hill. And I will say that maybe Vegas isn't as down on Portland as I am right now. They're firmly in the middle at Bovada at plus 6,600 in their 2020 NBA championship winner odds. But I think that's too high.
I think it's very high.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Portland struggling is one of those things that a lot of times you hear people talk about things that you hate to see. And I spent a lot of time in that Pacific Northwest area listening to Portland fans tell me about how great the Trailblazers are. So them being, bad, a lot of fun over here. A lot of fun.
Well, you've always been one for the Schadenfreude aspect of life.
I mean, listen, Chris, I like to live through other people's misery. It's one of those things when it comes to sports that just makes it so much fun. I'm able to just mock and mock and mock, and it's just nothing but pure pleasure for me. That's why it's so hard to argue that Portland's actually going to turn this around. I mean, if we could figure out, if you're Portland and you can figure out how to get literally anything out of Hassan Whiteside, get him back to that form that we saw that made him,
that 1 year
able to sign a max contract. Yeah, exactly. That one outstanding year in Miami, that's fine. I mean, Carmelo is what it is, and that's why Portland's been the hot topic pretty much since last Thursday in the NBA because of the Carmelo addition and the fact that he's back and he's in the starting lineup. But he's not going to be the difference maker. This isn't 25-year-old Carmelo Anthony. It's 35-year-old Carmelo Anthony. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah, Melo, just to chime in on Melo real quick, through that one game, averaging 10 points, 4 rebounds, no assists, and 5 turnovers. Wow. No assists and 5 turnovers. Let me just say that again. And he is a negative 8.7 on the NBA's per.
Yeah, I mean, and Portland's also playing a ton of guys who are relatively young in their rotation. I mean,
who are these guys who are so young?
I mean, Nasir Little's young. Scalabrine also young. Anthony Simons also young.
These are guys who are the 9th, 10th, 11th guys off the bench. Every team has guys who are young.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, they're starting. You need depth in the NBA. You're a Sixers fan. Why haven't you learned this? The Sixers' biggest struggle for the past couple of years is the fact that literally no one can play but their starters.
Look,
and that's going to be the problem that Portland's going to run into, especially in a conference that's as tightly contested as the Western Conference, where teams are much deeper, and their 6th, 7th, and 8th guys are some of the best players in the league, a la the Clippers with Lou Williams.
That's an anomaly.
You need these guys to be able to step up and play. And I know that's the exception to the rule of the 6th man. I get it. Obviously, James Ennis is a 6th man versus Lou Williams. It's not a fair comparison because Lou should start on pretty much every other team.
Correct.
And
his own team.
And his own team. But it's one of those things where Portland doesn't have that luxury. They don't have really anyone off the bench that makes a difference.
Well, they're trying to grow Anthony Simons into a Lou Williams-y player, and the problem is that he is so incredibly hot and cold at this stage in his career, and understandably for a younger guy. But yeah, I mean, the Lou Williams thing's an anomaly. Lou Williams is in that class of Jamal Crawford and Emmanuel and Ginobili, who are just they are the 6th men in the NBA because they should be starters, because they're clearly one of the 3 best players on their team. And they just happen to have this role and be willing to play this role. And that's a very, very unique and very valuable thing if you can find one of those guys. I need these guys. I need Portland to make a move. I don't understand why Kevin Love is not a Portland Trailblazer. It makes a lot of sense. He's from the area. He can add more outside shooting to a team that just wants to shoot outside. Carmelo will not have to be your starting power forward. That's utterly insane. So, and honestly, I don't know if he'd be happy about it. That would be interesting to watch the Carmelo drama, because one of the reasons Melo alleges he signed with Portland is because they were very clear about the role that they had for him. And, that role, game one, was starting power forward. So I don't know how he would necessarily handle being a backup again, but there's, that's fine. If you lose a Carmelo Anthony, you lose a Carmelo Anthony. He is what he is at this point. Kevin Love is 30 times the basketball player that he is. Same thing goes for Gallinari, who is one of the more underrated players in the league. Aaron Gordon would be very, very interesting with this roster. I don't know. It's just a move needs.
But who do they have to part with to get these pieces?
Unprotected first-round draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, to help you compete this year, it's almost worth it.
It's not almost worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And you're hoping that by making a move like that, they're going to be good enough that it's not going to matter. Right now, Portland tied for the number 6 pick in the draft, looking at Tankathon. I would, excuse me. That's crazy. Maybe the first time. Thank you. Maybe the first time I've ever sneezed on a show, and I'm not going to cut it out because it's a monumentous occasion. I've recorded hours and hours and hours and hours. Literally, I've recorded weeks of audio in my life, and I don't think I've ever sneezed before. So this is something. It's a day we can all tell our kids about. But
I can't wait to go pop a bottle of champagne in honor of it.
Well, you needed a reason to drink. But
yeah, of course.
But yeah, they're tied for the 6th pick. I'll trade what is now the 6th pick and what will likely be like the 13th, 14th, 15th pick in the draft for Kevin Love.
I mean, the biggest issue I think that's hurt them right now is they're 1-4 at home.
Mm-hmm.
The Moda Center usually is a place where they're able to kind of take over and play off the energy of the fans, and they really haven't done that this year. And if it will take them adding someone potentially, unless they can sort of stem the tides until Nurkic is potentially back. I know they said that he's not going to play before 2020, but 2020 is only a month away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not talking about a decade away from now.
Right.
If you can sort of, I'm thinking the best way to put it. If you can just kind of keep your head above water, paddle that boat upstream just a little bit more forcefully, I think they have a real shot here at not having to make that move. And when he's ready to return, we can go from there.
Greg, those last 30 seconds were like watching a car crash in slow motion, listening to Really, really well said. But
try not to die.
Hey, we've all got goals. Yeah, it's amazing that you're the sick one and I'm the one that sneezed. It's
I know, right?
Funny how the world works.
I've been using that mute button.
I'm proud of you. Yeah. Can I tell you? I've always kind of I know we have a little different setup here. I'm going into the mic and you have the headphone on, but you're in the headphones, right?
Yeah, I'm in headphones.
Okay, yeah. That's what I thought. Obviously, different coasts. We're talking about different Underdog offices here, but yeah, I don't have a clear-cut mute button. I would have to go over to the mixer, and the mixer's not really can't really reach it from here. So it is what it is. But yeah, this team is a mess right now. They're struggling. They are who they are. If you were Portland, let me just ask you this. Would you be more inclined to go trade for a player or go see what the market is for McCollum?
I mean, I'd certainly, put it out there and see if you can find. I guess you almost have to. It's not even a question.
Okay.
You almost have to see what you can get back.
Follow up. Despite the fact that he is now the world's greatest 3-point shooter, and unquestionably, like no joking aside, Ben Simmons is one of the best, most impactful defensive players in the NBA. Would you trade Ben Simmons for CJ McCollum?
Straight up, probably not. No.
Really?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
So
I think
is it
Ben
the versatility?
Still has a bigger upside. Yeah.
I don't know. I am very much a Ben Simmons advocate. I don't think he's the problem with this team by any stretch of the imagination. But McCollum would be really, really interesting and solve some woes that this team has. All of a legitimate sniper from the outside and a guy who can go get a bucket at any moment is, half court scoring for Philadelphia is an albatross right now. I certainly would not want to sacrifice Ben, but I would be very open to CJ. Okay, how about this? Would you trade Tobias Harris and a first-round pick or something along those lines for CJ McCollum?
Yes. Tobias stinks.
He doesn't stink. That's crazy. But and can I tell you? I think Portland would be a really good fit for Toby.
Yeah, anywhere that isn't Philadelphia paying him max money would be a great fit for Tobias Harris.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, you are happiest when others are unhappy, and that's the 76ers in a nutshell, basically. We're going to take our second and final break. We'll be right back.